What's going on, folks? Welcome back to another episode of Charm City Heavyweights. I'm the host, Matt Trigger. My co-host, Josh Merrill, will be with us momentarily. He is on daddy duty right now. Um, we are here to talk some Orioles baseball. We got a special guest tonight. He's a really good friend of mine. He has his own show, No Bull Sports. You can find him on Spotify. Uh, the man talks NBA, MLB, NFL. It does not matter. This is a sports aficionado right here, my buddy, Brian Ellis. Brian, what's going on, man?
Hey man, how are you today?
It's
What's
great to
going on
talk to
with
you
you?
again, man. You're trying to get you on the show on a semi consistent basis. It seems like every few months.
Well, we're here. We're making it happen. No, I appreciate you pestering me. This is something obviously I really enjoy doing. And I like the setup. I love the intro. Like all the man, that intro is kind of fire. I really like
Thank
that.
you, thank you. I will shout out my buddy that is part of the Driving to the Top podcast network. His name's Evan Brogdon. He is the resident Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Guardians, Cleveland Cavaliers
Oh, okay.
host, and he is our digital content creator. So he makes the videos for all of our podcasts that are within the network. So that's Evan's handiwork right there. So
All right.
uh,
Go
shout out to
Cleveland.
Evan. Yeah. We've been kind of watching the Orioles game a little bit in the background. I know that you've been following along. We are winning 13-0 right now. Gunnar
Mhm.
Henderson is going absolutely crazy.
Yep.
You love to see that. So just to kind of familiarize the audience with you, Brian, I know a lot of our listeners know you. You went to Baltimore Polytechnic Institute, aka Poly. You were an avid baseball player, a hell of a pitcher. You graduated the same year that I did, except I was at St. Joe. We we had the same group of friends through school, and I know you love the game, man. I know you absolutely love it.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on the Orioles right now? How are you feeling about this team?
Oh man, I have a lot of thoughts, especially after seeing, what we're doing today. Really, what I wanted to really start with is the lineup is insane from top to bottom. I mean, your today is a perfect example of like the potential that we have as an offensive team. I think once we really start getting things rolling. I remind you that Cedric Mullins is not hitting. You know,
He's not. You're right.
he's not hitting. Like if he starts hitting, what happens? Gunnar Henderson is what 4 for 5 right now, two
Yes.
home runs. Adley Rushman, obviously, we know what he can do. Uh, these new guys coming up. Cowser has apparently has been hitting 350 in the minor leagues. That's really not done a lot. I mean, it's very
It's
rare.
ridiculous.
Very, yeah. And he's also walking. He's a professional hitter, like right off the bat. These guys are coming up ready to go. We obviously have our coaching staff is obviously legitimate. Our scouting team, our scouting department. I just looked at our top 10 prospects. Pretty much every one of them is a first or second round pick. So we're nailing, on these picks as we failed, throughout the 5 years, 6 years there from about 2016 or 2015, I would say, to 2019. I think we had one playoff season in there, but the others were dead last or close to dead last. So you had a ton of first and second overall picks. You have a fifth round pick. Cowser's fifth. You got Kerstad, who's a second round pick. He's a stud. You have obviously Roshman and now Jackson Holiday, who's the number one prospect in baseball. If you're an O's fan and you're not excited right now, then wake up, because these guys, the pitching staff's one thing. We can talk more on that, but
Mm-hmm.
the lineup is enough to get excited.
And it's crazy. You know that we have a glutton of wealth in the minor league system when you draft Heston Kjerstad as a right fielder, and now he's projected to be your first baseman of the future. You
Mm-hmm.
know, to have that kind of athleticism at first base is unreal. And um, looking at the lineup right now, like you said, the lineup is absolutely stacked. They're hitting, they haven't been hitting well a whole lot lately, but tonight the bats are coming alive. O'Hearn is, it seems like he can't get out right now. O'Hearn is on fire. Gunner's on fire, like we were talking about. That dude's going to be the best player in baseball in a couple of years.
And could be.
The dude is
going to,
he might be, he's going to definitely be a great hitter. He's already on his way there. I like the fact that we have so much going for us at every level of the minors. Samuel Basallo just entered the top 100 prospects. He's in high A ball right now.
Yep.
Jackson Holiday is in high A. He's probably gonna be in Bowie within the next few weeks. I seriously doubt he's in Aberdeen much longer. Dylan Beavers is hitting. You got Colby Mayo. You got
Norby.
Yeah, Connor Norby. And what's crazy is all these guys play multiple positions. They are this entire organization prides itself on having all their players multifaceted. Play every position in the outfield if you're an outfielder, and if you're in the infield, you can play the corner outfield spots. It's impressive because we've never seen this type of depth in the organization ever. And if you can recall back to the last regime we had, now I was talking to Tim Kirchin about this last week, and the previous regime could draft pitchers,
right,
that were serviceable to above average, but they couldn't draft a hitter outside of a guy like Nick Markakis or Trey Mancini or they had to go buy the bats. But they drafted guys like Britton, Arrieta, Gaussman, Bedard, all these guys.
Bedard came from Seattle, actually.
Was Bedard Seattle?
No, sorry. You were right. Sorry,
we traded Bedard to Seattle. We traded Bedard and got Adam Jones and Chris Tillman.
Yes, you're absolutely right. My fault.
So we had a lot of good homegrown pitchers. You can even argue Brian Mattis to a certain degree.
Reliever for many years.
He was very serviceable, but then the script flipped completely when we went to the situation where we can draft these hitters, but we couldn't draft a pitcher. The pitching depth is a little bit shaky in the minors. I'm not going to say that it's bad. I'm really kind of worried that DL hasn't sniffed the majors consistently yet. It seems if you're talking about our prospects and what's going on right now, it seems like DL Hall has been in the minors for a very long time.
Yes, I agree.
And Grayson went down there to get the stuff. He worked out some kinks in his mechanics. Apparently, he's working on stuff between the ears, and he's back to being a strikeout machine. But hopefully, it'll translate into the majors because even the shittiest major league hitter is still a pro baseball player at the end of the day. So it's a lot different. AAA is like the rehab assignment central / players that can't quite make it and are still holding on. So
they say double A is like the real.
Yeah. It's where all the future stars play is double A. And I like how everything's going with, Grayson now. I didn't necessarily want them to send him down. I wanted him to work through his shit up here. And like we all know growing pains, and no matter what your job is, no matter where you're at, you're going to have growing pains regardless. And you got to work through that. I know that it's a confidence issue. You don't want to kill the kid's confidence. We did the same thing with DL last year. DL came up, he got shellacked by Tampa Bay, and he never really recovered from it.
Yep.
And now you're looking at the prospect of DL, where he might be a first round draft pick that ends up being a reliever, which is something you don't really want.
But you got to take it.
You got to take it. But in his mid-20s,
But that's what I'm. But to you were saying about how he's been in the minor leagues for a long time, right?
He has. I think it's been 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah, and so that's why I'm saying, like, why not swallow the pill now and be like, hey, I mean, he's like you say, he's 25 years old. He's a lefty that throws 100 miles an hour. You know, why would you not want to have, like, you have Felix Bautista, you have Cano, and then you can have a lefty that throws 100. You know, and then then you have if you look at the Yankees, you look at teams that succeed in the playoffs, they have stellar bullpens.
They do.
I mean, I'm not saying,
right.
you know what I mean? And so I think that if we can, in my opinion, I think that DL Hall we should throw him in. Like, I agree that and I hate to disagree with you on 2 points here because,
no problem.
But with Grayson but I think with Grayson's a different deal. I think he was, and they've said it. They said he was a little bit lazy, a little bit entitled, and I think that it was maybe not as much of a performance deal, just as much like, a confidence thing. Maybe he had too much confidence. You know what I'm saying?
That's
because
fair.
I mean, who wouldn't if you were that big of a dude, threw 100, and he has 2 like excellent secondary pitches. His changeup and his slider or I'm sorry, his curveball and his slider is good. I mean, that's 4. That's what you look for in a starter is 3 to 4. Pitches that you can throw for strikes, 2 that are plus, and then, but you got it, like, the Verlanders, the Scherzers, the, anybody that's even Corbin Burns, another guy who I think we should, if we could trade for, we should, but
yes,
I think they're in the hunt. A lot of teams, there's a lot of parity in baseball this year. It's very tight, and I think that's a testament to there's a higher infusion of young talent in baseball. We're not the only team. We have more. We have some more than most of the other teams, if not all. I think we're the number 2 minor league system. But other teams nobody's like like bone dry. Because there's and with baseball gets finicky. As years go on, like to your point, like DL Hall is not somebody that's maybe it takes him a little bit longer. He gets up. He's very when he's pitching and in Tampa Bay and Camden Yards when the Rouds ruckus, and he's a fiery guy. Guys like that either take full advantage of it and can focus in, or can't. Just can't really rattle it all and have to get a little, have to get punched in the mouth and shown that if you don't compose yourself, it's literally not going to happen. So you need to fucking compose yourself.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Brian.
No, you're good. You're good. We both ramble, so I mean,
it's cool. It's cool. Hey, you're used to your own show, man. So I'm cool. I'm cool. You're fine. And one of the things that kind of like clicked in my head, and I've talked about this on the previous shows. I'm not going to keep on going back to Kirkchen, but Kirkchen actually agreed.
That was a great interview.
Thank you. If DL does indeed become a bullpen arm, if DL can be the Andrew Miller of this Orioles team, like you said, that 7th inning, that bridge between if a starter can give us 5 and a third, and you bring in DL, and DL get you to Cano, that's dangerous. And if you just need DL to go out there for an inning or 2, just to pump 100 miles an hour and overpower guys, and then you got Cano who's throwing high 90s, and then you got Batista who's hitting 102 on the radar, it's over. That's how you win baseball games in the playoffs. Now, do I think that we're going to have to make some adjustments to the starting rotation the closer we get to the playoffs? Absolutely. And a lot of people forget, and I bring him up every time we talk about the Orioles. John Means is coming back. Now, whether or not we get –
I just forgot about that.
Now, whether or not we get the John Means pre-Tommy John surgery or not, that remains to be seen. But they have not rushed him back at all. They've been kind of tight-lipped on his rehab.
Yeah.
But if you get John Means just for August and September, and we're a playoff team, even if you use him as a long man
Mm-hmm.
or you start him every 6 days,
Mm-hmm.
you got another legitimate starter. He's a number 2 or 3 starter on a good team with a good rotation.
Yep.
Let me rephrase it. With a good rotation, he's a number 2 or 3 guy. Here, if he's healthy, he's the ace. We know that, and I'm cool with that because now you can look at Cole Irvin could be a long man. Kramer is having Kramer threw an absolute gem last night.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying he'll be in the starting rotation, but it's just a matter of what
5-man rotation. You need the fifth guy.
Gibson's not going anywhere. Wells isn't going anywhere.
Right. It's 3.
You're probably going to have Bradish in there, and
he's your number 2.
Yeah, these guys are serviceable, but it throws a lot of fans off because these aren't big name pitchers, but we know that they're bulldogs. Gibson's the innings eater. Wells is a stud. If Wells finds consistency, he's an ace. He's a number 1 starter if he improves the consistency in his game from start to start. I'm not saying that. No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, I was only going to say that I think that Bradish has more potential than Wells. That's my opinion. I think that Wells doesn't have the natural stuff. He doesn't throw as hard as Bradish, but he's a different pitcher. He's absolute pinpoint control, and he's fucking ice veins. So continue. So I'm with both of them. I love both of them.
Wells gives me Scott Erickson vibes.
There you go.
If you want to go old school Orioles, Erickson, Erickson was filthy.
Yep.
He didn't throw super hard,
right?
But he could paint corners. He had good placement, and I think one thing that's helping this, I guess if you want to call him unknown ragtag bunch of starters, Adley is an excellent game caller, and he handles this staff very well. And I wanted to ask you about Adley. Adley is the talk of baseball. He's in the home run derby. It seems like a lot of these new rules are kind of negatively affecting Adley's game. The bigger bases, the shift, and not being able to throw over to first to keep a runner honest. You can only throw over twice per at bat. So how are you feeling about Adley? Because a lot of guys are running on him now, and it's not just 1 or 2 here and there. I think in the month of June he only threw out 9 of 30. I think what Jason Lockenfleur was saying, I could be wrong, but
not bad. It's not terrible.
It's not terrible, but last year you weren't running on him.
I got you. So 9 of 30 would be 28, 27% or something. It's really not that's about league average, maybe a little bit over league average. But to your point, he's normally one of the best. So, I would just liken that to maybe just a bad stretch. Maybe he ran into some fast guys. That's, there's and the bigger stolen bases, the bigger bases, if it's a bang bang play, it's gonna make a difference. And then these guys, have you seen these gloves these guys wear? And they slide in, and a lot of these guys they're sliding in a lot more aggressively.
And they have wear those mitts.
You're right. So they protect their fingers from getting broken. And what happens is, guys, they'll do more aggressive slides, because of these. I think that there is more stolen bases in the league this year across the board. I think the whole for every player on this team, every single player, not every single, but pretty much all of them, I'm optimistic for here going forward. And for a lot of reasons, I've seen enough. They're young enough, and there's enough there to, put it together for a legitimate major league career. We're talking. Hold on, we're talking 5 to 6 guys that could be 30 home run guys. That could be. I'm not saying they're gonna be, but certainly have the capacity to do so. But just going back to Adley real quick, first of all, he needs to just switch to the left-handed.
You think he needs to give up on batting right-handed?
Yes. Why?
The splits aren't good. I will agree with you.
They never have been.
No, they haven't.
And I think that's an analytics-driven thing that they're pushing. Plus, Adley just wants to do it, and I think he feels comfortable, looking. He probably doesn't. He probably sucks against lefties, lefty on lefty. Maybe he's even worse. He could very well be even worse. But I don't see it. Not if he's, I don't have his splits up right now, but if he's he's batting 275. So if he's batting close to 300 from the left side, I'm sure like against righties, I'm sure that against lefties he's maybe 260 or something like that. And he's a 290 hitter, because there's a lot more right-handed pitchers than
left. Yeah,
left.
absolutely.
And then for the rest of his career, he gets better and better, and he could just be a master lefty hitter. I mean, he's got like I would say another year or year and a half for me before I just go do it already.
Now, speaking of changes to Adley's game, we have Basallo in the minors. It's been a lot. I listen to a lot of sports radio during the day, driving around, and then on my commute home. There's a split amongst a lot of people in the city, and I listen to the callers too, and I read the message boards just to kind of get a pulse on what people are thinking. Very small sample size for Basallo. He's 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
He's still a kid. Can't even drink yet.
He smokes cigarettes though,
and you can serve in the military.
Yes. He can't smoke cigarettes. No, he can't. Not in the state of Maryland.
Not in the state of Maryland, no.
That line's not used anymore.
So, if we hold steady and don't trade him, some people think that he's going to be a centerpiece to another bat or a bullpen arm or a starter. I don't think you trade him for a bullpen arm. I think you can move other assets for that. If Basallo comes up to the majors, are you making him your first baseman? Or are you going to move Adley to first? Perfect world, obviously Adley is going to be a great hitter. He's a great defensive catcher. He calls a great game, but he's already 26 years old.
Mm-hmm.
By the time Basallo could be potentially ready for the majors, Adley's pushing 30. Does he go the Joe Mauer route, or does he go behind the plate and then they move Basallo to first base, and you got Basallo at first base for a dozen years? Hypothetically speaking.
Well, I don't know. I mean, this kid, he's 18 years old, right? I mean, is he a trade chip? If is he the one that gets us the big pitcher that gets us over the top for the next couple of years? If he's that, then that's what I'm doing with him. We have Ryan Mountcastle, we have Adley Rutschman, we have Anthony Santander, and we have Ryan O'Hearn for at least, if we so choose, for the next 2 to 3 to 4 years for those guys.
You're right.
Rutschman obviously for longer, Mountcastle for a little bit longer, if we so choose. Like I mean, that's why it's so exciting with this deadline. I really think we should try and do something. And usually, I'm like, yeah, we could do something, but we're really not in it. Like it's a no-brainer that we have. I mean, we almost have we have an abundance. We really have an abundance of talent. And I really think what they're doing, to be honest with you, management, by putting these guys in these last few weeks and coming up, is doing that. They're trying to put them on display and show teams and make something big, possibly right by the deadline. I mean, a lot of teams wait till that, there's going to be another 15, 16 games played until then. There could be shifts in the standings. I mean, there's a lot to happen, but I really feel something brewing, and I would put this guy in that.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. I'm looking around the league right now, and I'm starting to pay attention more to the guys that we could possibly trade for. It seems like most of the pitchers that we could potentially acquire are coming from either the AL or the NL Central.
Yep.
They seem to be collectively the weakest divisions in baseball in both leagues. You got Jordan Montgomery that you could possibly go for. Jack Flaherty you could possibly go for from the St. Louis Cardinals. Do you call the Chicago Cubs and see what they would want from Marcus Stroman? He's controversial, but I think Stroman would be another hard-nosed inning eater pitcher for the Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
Do you call the White Sox and essentially any one of their starters? You could have Lance Lynn, you could have Giolito, Dylan Cease, Michael Kopech. It doesn't really. I think that they would be willing to part for the right price.
Right.
All those guys.
Right.
Then you look at the fact of who do you trade? Oh, with the Cleveland Guardians, there's Shane Bieber.
I'm not a big fan of Bieber. I think he's kind of I think we've seen the best of him. He's like on the downtrodden.
That's fair. That's fair, but it seems like that when you look at the NL Central, another team is the Milwaukee Brewers. They're still in it. They're playing good baseball.
Mm-hmm.
Corbin Burns is under control for another year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
He's a free agent after the 2024 conclusion. He is going to take the most prospects to bring in.
Mm-hmm.
To me, the prospects in this organization, I'm not talking about the young guys at the major league level. I'm talking about minor league prospects. The guys that you can't touch are Jackson Holliday and Heston Kjerstad. Obviously, Grayson Rodriguez is going to be back up, and DL is going to be back up. So I don't even really include them in prospects. So they're just in the minors right now. But, Joey Ortiz, do you center a deal around him? I personally do not believe Mountcastle is going to be here long term. I think he's just a tad too inconsistent. And I think that if one of these teams want a major league ready bat, Mountcastle might be the guy. If you were to ask, when I was talking about this 3 months ago when the season kicked off, I thought that Austin Hayes would have been that guy. But with Austin Hayes being a top 10 batting average guy in the entire MLB, that's not the case anymore. Or do you move Mullins? But Mullins is a fan favorite. If you think you can, the only way you trade Mullins if you don't think you can get him done long term. And he's under control for 3 more years. He
too good in center field. He's too good in center field. He's amazing.
He's amazing in center field. Austin Hayes has the best arm on the team. You're not going to take him out of that deep left field. He's fast. He can cover. The dude's got a rocket arm. Colton Cowser is most likely our right fielder of the future. So I'm not too worried there. I think that as long as Aaron Hicks is playing the way he's playing, he's your fourth outfielder all day long heading into the stretch run. So there's guys that you can move to bring in that arm. But if you bring in somebody like Burns, you're kicking out Ortiz. You're going to have to kick out Mayo or Norby, if not both. Mm-hmm. You're probably going to have to kick out Pasalo. And they might want a major league bat. They might want either Mountcastle or Mateo or Urias. So it's because Mountcastle, Mateo, Urias are the only ones on the major league roster that I would feel comfortable trading at this point in time. Because I don't think Frazier is going to get you much in return. He might get you a player to be named later, cash consideration, or a mid-level minor league
consideration. I love that.
Right, so I'm spitballing here, but I
always picture like them with like a briefcase of cash, and they're like, "Here's the player, here's the cash."
Right. I'm confident that we're gonna get something done, but I think we're gonna aim more towards a Marcus Stroman or a Giolito or somebody of that ilk.
You said the name earlier that I wanted to say something, but you were rolling. Dylan Cease, here's the thing, and he may very well take just as much, if not more. Well, I don't know, but he'll take a lot, just like Burns. But I really like Dylan Cease, and when you and Tim Kirchin, I heard that interview. Within the week and a half since then, the White Sox have plummeted, the Cubs have plummeted, and he was talking about how they feel like they're still in the race. I think that's what I'm saying about like this week by week up to the deadline. If they continue on that trend, that very well will not be the case, and you'll have teams calling. We'll have a bunch of teams calling. As far as like the non-tradables go, I agree that Holiday is definitely a non-tradable. I think that Colton Cowser is. I don't want to trade him because of the fact that he could be. I really like. He could be a perennial 300 hitter, and if he's it depends on how he plays defense. But I don't want to trade him right now. I want to see what he can do. Other than and then Ortiz, I don't want to trade. I don't want to trade Ortiz.
Let me ask you a question about Ortiz though, Brian. Where does he fit in on this team though? If you're looking strictly towards the future and you're looking at first base is going to be either Mountcastle, Santander, Kerstedt, or somebody that's not on the roster right now.
Right.
So first base is going to be a plug and play to the hot hand. Westberg is your second baseman of the future.
Is that what you think?
I think that even though he can play third and short, I think that he slots in the second. Jackson Holiday is your shortstop of the future. Now, could you theoretically slide and do a shuffle and put Gunnar as your shortstop, Westberg at third, Holiday at second? You could do that, but it does not matter, honestly, because they're all plus defenders. Those three right there are your infielders. So to me, unless Ortiz learns how to play right field,
right,
or he learns how to be a jack of all trades utility guy, which I think he has the ability to. He's somebody that you got to have in your lineup every day. But we have too much going on to where are you gonna hold on to him, and that means instead of getting Dylan Cease, you're getting Giolito or Lance Lynn or somebody like that. That's my thought process. Is if Ortiz is what you want to hold on to, but it's not going to. You need to include Ortiz to get what you need. You ship Ortiz in that trade. And right now, a lot of Orioles fans are falling. I'm hearing it more and more. I try to be objective about it when I'm talking about it. Elias has got this city buzzing with the prospects that are in the minors. If he is that good at drafting, trading a couple of these guys to get a number one pitcher,
that's what I'm saying.
It is okay. So as much as people are saying like, oh, Mayo's close or oh, Norby's close, the same thing stands for those two that stands for Ortiz. Where are they playing? Where are they playing consistently every day in the big league club? Because at the end of the day, you got to find a spot for them, and you don't want to have a rotating DH first base kind of situation because Gunnar's never going to come up out of the field. Westberg is a plus defender, and Jackson Holiday, with his trajectory, he's going to be a leadoff guy, and he is going to be your shortstop or your second baseman of the future. Now, where you decide to play Westberg and Gunnar, that's immaterial. Now, could you hold on to one of these guys in hopes that you could transition a Westberg or a Gunnar to first base eventually? That's 10 years down the road. So there's a kid that's playing baseball in sixth grade somewhere that might be our shortstop of the future. You know what I'm saying? So it really, it's all subjective. I just believe that they're going to have to part with some of these fan favorite minor league guys to get somebody in here. And if it takes a combination of Ortiz, Mayo, Norby, Beavers, Fabian, and then maybe a major league, bat, it might just have to be one of those situations because our bats are awake. Like we talked about at the beginning of the show. We had a really rough month. We were 16-18 heading into the Yankee series. We were starting to get a little bit nicked and banged up along the way. the All-Star break's coming at a perfect time. I believe that we're going to regroup and we're going to continue the solid baseball play. Splitting with the Yankees is huge. We cannot afford to lose this series because the way the schedule plays out now, there's less games against division opponents. So every division game matters even more now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But now talking about the All-Star break, Adley made it as a backup catcher. Hayes got voted in as a reserve outfielder. We don't know with his injury if he's going to play or not.
Definitely deserved it.
He definitely did. Cano and Batista were voted in. Do you believe that there was any snubs on the team?
Nah, I think that I didn't think that Cano was going to get it. I thought that was, I was surprised. I'm happy, and I think he deserved it. I just thought it was going to be one of those, like the small market team snub or something. But obviously, the players understood. I mean, the guy's been lights out all season long. Not only with, Bautista's been more of like the strikeout, like left and right. Cano guys just can't square him up. They just boink, doink, doink, pop up, ground ball. He strikes guys out too. But he does it a little bit differently, a little bit more crafty with his sinker. He's awesome to watch. No, I think that everybody got there that deserved it. Everybody else has been playing pretty good and doing their job, but to consider themselves all-star, they're the all-stars. So 4 is a good bit. It's the most we've had probably in, I don't know, probably 4 or 5 years, I would think.
Absolutely. And I think that the voting is flawed because, when guys like Aaron Judge are making it and Judge has barely played all year and, Trout's going to be there and Trout's expected to miss the next 2 months with a broken wrist.
You want to get me started with All-Star game, bro?
It's a rabbit hole right there. Now, speaking of the All-Star festivities, Adley volunteered for the Home Run Derby. Are you for or against Adley's participation?
So I was listening to 105.7 The Fan about this. Shout out 105.7 The Fan. They were kind of just laying it out there pretty simply that no. There was a run there from about, I don't know, mid 2000s to about 2010, 2011, where it was happening. Guys were participating in the Home Run Derby, doing well, and then like alarmingly were like slumping. And like the peak of that was probably oh God, what's his name from the Phillies? Bobby
Harper.
Abreu.
Oh, Abreu, yeah.
Yep.
Abreu.
I think it was like 05 or 06. Killed it in the Home Run Derby. He was one of the best hitters in the league before that, and then he like had 1 home run the rest of the season or something. And
Josh Hamilton as well.
Yep, Josh Hamilton. I think that Justin Morneau, same thing when he won. But a lot of these guys are. It's not really happening anymore. There's the data analytics portion of like when these guys go into slumps. I feel like guys don't go into slumps as long. These really good hitters. I don't see that at all. I think that, especially with the way guys are kind of more aiming towards home runs, especially these last 5 years, even pitchers pitching at the top of the zone, guys trying to hit the ball out more. Home run derby is just another day at the park a little bit. Right. Now I do think that now it's cool that he's having his dad pitch to him, but I don't think he's gonna. I think I maybe could hinder him a little bit, depending on, I don't know how good of a pitcher his dad is.
Right.
But man, you hate to see when guys are like on fire, and then because this is a timed event now. It's not back in the day. You could kind of chill out.
Right, because it was a 10-out system and not a minute system.
Right. Now he's gonna be rushing his dad. Come on, Dad, hurry up! No, that'd be hilarious. And then he said he was like joking around. He's like, I might hit right-handed. I'm like, dude, stop hitting right-handed.
I'm just kind of old school with the superstition with our guys. Like it didn't trade it and fall off. He had a great showing. I think he finished second when he didn't have a huge fall off.
Mark Trumbo didn't do bad either.
No,
when he was.
But Trumbo is one of those hitters that's built for the home run derby. If you remember, Trumbo was just a power or nothing kind of dude. He just hit the ball. It seemed like he either hit struck out or hit the ball 500 feet. And Adley, we know he has a very violent swing, and it's beautiful, but it's violent. His swing is almost as violent as Prince Fielder's swing was. Because every time Prince Fielder swung in the bat, it sounded like he was getting hurt.
2-time home run derby champ.
Yeah, and it would be cool to see Adley win it, but it just gives me pause when we have to hear that Adley was the first person that volunteered for the home run derby. I'm like, come on,
right?
Yeah, we've pretty much covered the bases, Brian. I know that we've talked about the trade prospects, the Orioles farm system. We talked about the All-Star break itself. Before we wrap the show,
we're gonna talk about Gunnar Henderson.
Gunner's just a different dude, man. Gunner is an absolute animal.
Well, you did say he was going to be the best player in a couple years.
Yeah,
dude, he might. Come to think of it, he is a stud in the field too. He's pretty nice in the field. He's not like the best, but he's pretty good.
He's a big dude too. Like for being a shortstop, corner infielder, he's a big dude, and he moves well, and he runs base. He other than the bullshit that he pulled on the base paths the other night, he's a relatively good base runner.
Yeah.
I like how Gunner's trajectory. Tim alluded to it last week that Gunner might be one of those guys that plays out his arbitration years here, and he's going to hit the market. Boris is not going to let him buy out arbitration years unless the Orioles are going to go 35-40 million a year. And I seem to think that Adley's rep is going to play ball with us a lot more than Boris, because Boris is all about making his guys close to billionaires by the time it's all said and done. And if you're going to keep any two players on this team, you got to keep Adley, you got to keep Gunner.
Right.
Last thing I want to do is see Gunner in pinstripes or up in Boston.
I mean, I was thinking that when he was hitting round the bases, I was like, the Yankee fans are just like, come on. But he's going to cost a lot of money if he's playing like this. If he really is like, one of the best players in the league by the time he's 25, 26 years old, it is what it is, man. Like we're not a franchise that does that yet. Maybe our owners open up their pocketbooks one day when say we win say this team takes us to a World Series, and we got and Gunnar Henderson just bats, say like next year, Gunnar Henderson bats 350 with 45 home runs and 120 RBIs, and we win the fucking World Series. Yeah, I think you should. Then it's like, there you go. But
exactly.
It's got to take that. It's got to take that for our ownership to do that, because we do have, like we've talked about this today, the bevy of options as well. I mean, Gunnar is only one guy.
Right.
It may in how many arbitration years is that we have? 5, 6?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a pretty big window that for that doesn't cost shit against. Well, we don't have a salary cap, but that you don't have to pay, and you might as well just have to try and take advantage of that.
I'm just thinking, Gunner, if we can get longevity out of Gunner like we did with Adam Jones, Markakis, Cal, those kind of guys, Palmeiro, to where we can get him here for a decade to a dozen years, and that short porch and right is his friend. The dude's got natural raw power to hit all parts of the field. But I do want to get your prediction. It can be about the end of the season. I'd like to hear what you think is going to be the end result for the Orioles this year. And what is your bold prediction? What do you think is going to happen before the trade deadline? What is your bold prediction for the Orioles to make a move, and what's your prediction for their end of the season?
Well, I think that I do think we're going to make a trade at the trade deadline. I think, but based on the way we're we brought Westbrook up and we brought Cowser up back to back. We brought a lot of guys up this spring. I think before the trade deadline for a reason. So I think that we're going to make a splash, and I also think that it's going to be my bold prediction. Like I said, I hope and pray we make a play for Dylan Cease or Corbin Burns. Dylan Cease, I think, is a year younger than him, and has more experience in the American League already. At the same time, I don't know if you've ever noticed, like, pitchers that go across leagues, they actually dominate right off the bat, and it takes the hitters a little bit to adjust.
Get used to them, yes.
So maybe we get Corbin Burns to take advantage of that, but whoever we get, we should be able to sign, and that's, Cease.
Absolutely.
I think both of them are going to want big dollar contracts, but I think Corbin Burns probably deserves more. I think he's had more of a, consistently successful career. So I think that I say we get Dylan Cease and he pitches the best ball of his career with the Baltimore Orioles for the next, 3 months, hopefully. And then, I think he may have if he's got a couple of years left on his contract, we'll just take advantage of that. So that'd be sick. I think we're going to, let's see. I think we're going to win the wild card, get in one of the wild cards. I don't think we're going to take over Tampa Bay. And I think we make it to the ALCS.
ALCS. That's a good prediction, Brian. I would like to see an ALCS appearance. That would be a fantastic, and, transitioning right into football season when the Ravens are going. We'll have you back on, man, a little bit closer to football season.
Hell yeah, man.
Before I let you go, Brian, wanted to thank you for coming on the show. Let everybody know where they can find your show on Spotify, man.
All right. Well, yeah. So No Bull Sports, like you see in my tagline here, find it on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. I believe those are the 3 platforms. Definitely going to do some more episodes. I haven't done one in a while, so it's some past content, but there's a lot of entertaining content on there. A lot of good interviews with some old coaches of mine, some old ball players around the area that I really think you guys would enjoy. So a lot of variation of topics that we go through. So check it out.
There you have it, folks. I want to, give a special shout out to our next guest on our episode of Charm City Heavyweights. We will be off next week. We are on our family vacations, respectively. On the 18th of July, Kadre Ismail from 98 Rock, former Ravens Super Bowl world champion, will be joining the show. And I will be having another Bearded, Wholesome, and All Things Baltimore interview coming up on the 17th with Double G. He's a rapper from Baltimore. He's going to be making his third appearance on the show. He has got some great content coming our way.
Another great pitcher, Greg Myers.
Yes, Greg Myers was a fantastic pitcher.
Dirty slider.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll appreciate that, Brian. But
there you go.
Hang around for post-show, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys on the week of the 17th.
All right.